Dr. Jason Parker stepped off the transport ship and into the gleaming halls of Medical Station Horizon 7. The artificial gravity felt different here, lighter than Earth's, making his medical bag seem almost weightless. He adjusted his white coat and looked around at the alien architecture, all curved walls and soft blue lighting. A tall, four-armed creature approached him. Its skin was deep purple, and its eyes glowed with a soft yellow light. "Dr. Parker?" it asked in perfect English. "I am Commander Zixlar. Welcome to our facility." Jason extended his hand, then quickly pulled it back when he remembered the briefing about Vexorian customs. Instead, he touched his forehead with 2 fingers, their traditional greeting. "Thank you, Commander. I'm honored to be here." "The first human medic in our program," Zixlar said, all 4 arms crossing in what Jason hoped was a friendly gesture. "We are curious about your methods." As they walked through the station, Jason saw dozens of different alien species. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few seemed to be made of crystal. Medical staff rushed about with purpose, carrying strange instruments that hummed and glowed. They entered the main medical bay where a green-skinned alien with 6 eyes was treating a patient. "This is Dr. Tavara, our chief medical officer," Zixlar introduced. Tavara barely looked up from her work. "The human," she said flatly. "I've read about your primitive techniques. Blood transfusions, cutting into bodies, using needles." She made a sound that might have been disgust. "Barbaric," Jason smiled patiently. "Sometimes the old ways work best, Dr. Tavara. I'm here to learn from you, but also to share what humans know about medicine." "What could you possibly teach us?" Tavara asked, finally turning to face him. "We've eliminated disease, perfected regeneration, and mapped every genome in the galaxy." Before Jason could answer, an alarm blared through the station. Red lights flashed, and a voice announced, "Emergency. Incoming. Multiple casualties from mining accident on Keltor 5. The bay doors opened, and hover stretchers floated in carrying injured miners. Jason saw burns, crushed limbs, and other trauma he recognized immediately. While the alien doctors hesitated, consulting their advanced scanners, Jason moved. He grabbed basic supplies and went to the most critical patient, a young miner whose breathing was labored. "Tension pneumothorax," he muttered, recognizing the collapsed lung. Without waiting for approval, he used a simple needle to release the pressure. The miner gasped, breathing normally again. The alien doctor stared in shock. "How did you know?" Tavara demanded. "Listen to the breathing, watch the chest movement," Jason explained while moving to the next patient. "Sometimes you don't need scanners to see what's wrong." For the next hour, Jason worked alongside the alien staff. He used tourniquets for bleeding, set broken bones, and performed basic procedures that seemed to amaze his colleagues. His hands moved with practiced skill, treating each patient quickly and effectively. When the crisis ended, Commander Zixlar approached him. "Impressive, Dr. Parker. Perhaps we underestimated human medicine." Tavara reluctantly nodded. "Your methods are crude but effective. How did you remain so calm?" Jason wiped sweat from his forehead. "On Earth, we train for this. Emergency medicine isn't about having the best technology. It's about making quick decisions and acting." A young nurse with lavender skin approached. "Dr. Parker, I'm Nurse Zelith. Could you teach me that breathing technique you used?" "Of course," Jason smiled. "I'm here to share everything I know." As the day ended, Jason felt satisfied. He'd proven himself, earned some respect, and helped save lives. The other doctors began asking questions about human techniques, and even Tavara seemed less dismissive. Looking out at the stars through the station's viewport, Jason thought about his grandfather, a combat medic from Earth's old wars. "Sometimes, grandson," the old man had said, "healing isn't just about medicine, it's about courage." Jason didn't know how right those words would prove to be. Days passed at Medical Station Horizon 7, and Jason settled into his new routine. Each morning he walked through the halls with his coffee thermos, a habit that puzzled the aliens who didn't need caffeine to function. "You drink that every day?" Nurse Zelith asked, her lavender skin shimmering under the station lights. It helps me think, Jason replied with a grin. Want to try some? Zeleth took a sip and immediately spat it out. It tastes like reactor coolant. Jason laughed. It's an acquired taste. The morning briefing brought news of increased pirate activity in the sector. Commander Zixlar's forearms moved in agitation as he explained. The Scorched Claws have been attacking civilian ships. We may receive casualties. Dr. Tavara turned to Jason. Have you treated combat injuries before? More than I'd like to remember, Jason said quietly. His mind flashed to emergency rooms on Earth, filled with victims of violence. That afternoon, another human arrived at the station. Nurse Lena Matthews stepped off the transport, her red hair tied back in a practical bun. Jason felt relief at seeing another human face. Dr. Parker? Lena extended her hand. I've heard about you, the human who impressed the aliens with old-school medicine. Just doing my job, Jason said. Welcome aboard. Lena fit in quickly, her warm personality winning over even the most skeptical aliens. She and Jason often ate lunch together, sharing stories about Earth while curious aliens listened. They think we're so primitive, Lena whispered one day. But they've never seen a human in a real crisis. 2 weeks later, the crisis came. The alert sounded just after midnight. Jason jumped from his bed, pulling on his scrubs as he ran to the medical bay. Survivors from an attacked trading vessel were arriving. The bay filled with chaos, burned flesh, missing limbs, and screams in 12 different languages. Jason and Lena moved like a well-oiled machine, triaging patients while alien doctors fumbled with their scanners. Scanners are overloaded, Tavara shouted. Too many patients. Then use your eyes, Jason called back. He was already working on a child with severe burns. Red tag this one, yellow tag those 3, green tags can wait. The alien stared at the colored tags Jason was placing on patients. What is this system? Zeleth asked. Triage, Lena explained while bandaging wounds. We sort by who needs help most urgently. A badly injured trader grabbed Jason's arm. Pirates, still attacking. More ships coming. Jason nodded grimly and continued working. His hands moved with practiced efficiency, stitching wounds and setting bones. The alien doctors watched in amazement as he performed procedures they'd only seen in historical archives. Hours passed in a blur of blood and sweat. When the last patient was stable, Jason slumped against a wall. His scrubs were stained with various colors of alien blood. 63 patients, Tavara said, consulting her data pad. All survived. Without your methods, we would have lost at least 20. Commander Zixlar entered the bay, his yellow eyes wide. The pirates are growing bolder. They're attacking. Medical convoys now. That's against galactic law, Tavara protested. They don't care about laws, Lena said darkly. Pirates never do. Jason stood up, exhaustion forgotten. We need to prepare better. More supplies, emergency protocols, defense plans. Defense? Zixlar looked confused. We're medical staff. We don't fight. Sometimes, Jason said carefully. Protecting patients means being ready for anything. The commander's forearms waved dismissively. The coalition will protect us. We heal, we don't harm. Later that night, Jason and Lena sat in the observation deck, looking at the stars. They don't understand, Lena said softly. They've never had to fight to save lives. Jason nodded. They see medicine and violence as opposites. They don't know that sometimes they're two sides of the same coin. You think trouble's coming? I know it is, Jason replied. And when it does, they'll learn what humans really are. In the medical bay below, alien doctors studied Jason's triage system, slowly beginning to understand that human medicine wasn't primitive. It was practical, born from centuries of conflict and survival. The attack came during morning rounds. Jason was checking on a young Calorian patient when the first explosion rocked the station. Alarms screamed, and the lights flickered before switching to emergency power. What's happening? Nurse Zeleth asked, her lavender skin turning pale. Before anyone could answer, the doors burst open. Armored figures stormed in, carrying weapons that hummed with deadly energy. They wore the blood-red armor of the Krithak Empire, known across the galaxy for their cruelty. "Everyone down!" the lead raider shouted. His voice was harsh, mechanical. Through his helmet, Jason's training kicked in. He moved slowly, keeping his hands visible while positioning himself between the raiders and his patients. Around him, alien staff members dropped to the floor, trembling. "This is a medical facility," Commander Zixlar said, his forearms raised in surrender. "We're neutral, we treat everyone." The raider laughed. "Not anymore. The Empire needs supplies. Medicine, equipment, everything." One of the raiders walked to a bed where an elderly patient lay connected to life support. Without warning, he yanked out the power cable. The machines went silent. "No!" Jason shouted, moving forward. A rifle butt caught him in the stomach, dropping him to his knees. Dr. Tavara tried to reach her patient, but another raider shoved her back. "Please," she begged, "let us help them." "Weak species don't deserve to live," the raider sneered. He moved to the next bed. Jason watched in horror as the raiders began disconnecting more patients. His eyes fell on the pediatric ward, where several alien children were being treated. The raiders were heading that way. Something cold settled in Jason's chest. His grandfather's voice echoed in his mind. "Sometimes, son, you have to fight to heal." The lead raider reached for a child's oxygen mask. The little one's eyes were wide with fear. "Stop," Jason commanded, his voice different now. "Harder." The raider turned. "Or what, human? You'll bandage me to death?" Jason stood slowly. His whole demeanor had changed. Lena, watching from across the room, saw something in his eyes she'd never seen before. "I took an oath to do no harm," Jason said quietly. "But I also swore to protect my patients." The raider raised his weapon. "Last chance, medic." Jason moved, faster than anyone expected. Years of emergency training had taught him to act quickly, decisively. He grabbed a surgical tray and threw it at the raider's helmet, momentarily blinding him. In the same motion, he swept the alien's legs, sending him crashing to the floor. The other raiders turned their weapons toward Jason, but he was already moving. He grabbed an oxygen tank and swung it like a club, catching one raider in the chest. The impact dented the armor and sent the alien flying. "Zalith, secure the patients," Jason shouted while ducking behind a medical console. An energy blast scorched the wall where his head had been. The alien staff watched in shock as their peaceful human doctor transformed into something else entirely. Jason used everything around him as a weapon. IV poles became spears. Medical lasers became cutting tools. His knowledge of anatomy told him exactly where to strike for maximum effect. "What is he doing?" Tavara gasped. "Protecting us," Lena answered, moving to help wounded staff members. One raider managed to grab Jason from behind. Without hesitation, Jason drove his elbow into a gap in the armor, hitting a nerve cluster he knew would cause paralysis. The raider dropped. More explosions shook the station. Through the windows, Jason could see additional raider ships approaching. This wasn't just a raid. It was an invasion. "Get the critical patients to the emergency shelter," Jason ordered. For the first time, the alien staff didn't question him. They moved. The lead raider struggled to his feet, reaching for his weapon. Jason was faster. He pressed a hypo spray to the alien's neck, delivering enough sedative to drop a charging beast. As the raider collapsed, Jason looked around the medical bay. 3 raiders down, but more were coming. His white coat was torn, his hands bloody. Not from surgery this time, but from combat. "The pediatric ward," he said grimly. "We make our stand." There. The alien medical staff huddled in the corner of the pediatric ward, watching Jason with a mixture of fear and awe. He moved through the room like a different person, checking windows, securing doors, and turning medical equipment into defensive positions. "Dr. Parker," Tavara whispered. "What are you doing? This violence, it's against everything we stand for." Jason paused, his eyes meeting hers. "Right now, standing for something means standing between those raiders and our patients." He picked up a bone saw, testing its weight. The surgical tool suddenly looked like a weapon in his hands. Nurse Zelith gasped. You can't mean to hurt them with medical tools? I'll do whatever it takes to protect the children, Jason replied firmly. Lena appeared at the door helping a wounded security officer. More raiders in the East Wing. They're executing anyone who resists. Executing. Commander Zixlar's forearms trembled. But we're healers. The Galactic Treaty protects medical facilities. Treaties don't stop bullets, Jason said grimly. He turned to the staff. Listen carefully. I need you to barricade the back entrance with beds and equipment. Lena, gather all the sedatives and anesthetics you can find. What are you planning? Lena asked, though her eyes showed she already knew. Chemical warfare, Jason answered. We'll use the ventilation system. The aliens recoiled. That's using medicine as a weapon, Tavara protested. Better than letting them use weapons on our patients, Jason countered. Heavy footsteps echoed in the corridor. Jason positioned himself near the door, gripping a surgical laser. He'd modified it, removing the safety limiters. Now it could cut through armor as easily as flesh. Human, Dr. Tavara said softly. How do you know these things? You're a healer like us. Jason's laugh was bitter. On Earth, sometimes healers have to be fighters. My grandfather was a combat medic. He taught me that saving lives sometimes means taking them. The door burst open. 2 raiders entered, weapons raised. They never saw Jason pressed against the wall. His surgical laser flashed twice, precisely hitting the weak points in their armor. Both dropped without a sound. The aliens stared at the fallen raiders, then at Jason. His face was calm, professional, as if he'd just completed a difficult surgery. Help me move them, he ordered. We need their weapons and armor. You want us to touch them? Zelith asked, horrified. Unless you'd prefer they wake up and kill us, yes. Working quickly, Jason stripped the raiders of their equipment. He handled the alien weapons with surprising familiarity, checking power cells and adjusting settings. How do you know how to use those? Commander Zixlar asked. Same principle. As surgical tools, Jason explained. Point and shoot, just different results. An explosion rocked the station. Through the window, they could see fires burning in other sections. Jason's jaw tightened. They're destroying the whole station. This isn't a raid anymore. It's extermination. He handed a weapon to Lena. Remember your training? She nodded grimly. Unfortunately, to the alien's shock, Jason began setting up defensive positions with military precision. He created kill zones, planned escape routes, and established fallback points. The pediatric ward transformed into a fortress. You humans, Tavara said, watching him work. You prepare for violence even in places of healing? We hope for peace, Jason replied. But prepare for war. It's how we survived long enough to reach the stars. More raiders approached. Jason could hear them coordinating their attack. He turned to the alien staff. Stay with the children. Keep them calm. If we fall, use the emergency tunnels. Where are you going? Zelith asked. Jason checked his stolen weapon and picked up his medical bag. To remind these raiders why humans are the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Not because we're the strongest or the smartest, but because we can be healers one moment and warriors the next. He moved toward the door, no longer looking like a doctor. The aliens watched their gentle human medic walk into battle, finally understanding the dual nature of humanity. Jason moved through the maintenance tunnels like a ghost. The cramped passages were barely lit, but he navigated them with confidence. Behind him, a small group followed. Lena, Dr. Lisa Monroe, who had arrived last week, and Nurse Zelith. How? Do you know these tunnels so well? Lisa whispered. She was young, fresh from Earth Medical School, and had never seen combat. First thing I do in any new place, Jason replied quietly. Learn all the exits. Old habit. They reached a junction where the tunnel split in 3 directions. Jason consulted his medical scanner, now reprogrammed to track Krithak biosigns. 5 raiders in the main corridor above us, 2 more guarding the supply room. We need those supplies, Lena said. The patients won't survive without them. Jason nodded. Lisa, Zeleth, you wait here. If you hear fighting, take the left tunnel back to pediatrics. I want to help, Lisa protested. You are helping, by staying alive to treat the wounded. Jason's voice was gentle but firm. He and Lena crawled through a ventilation shaft until they were above the supply room. Through the grate, they could see two raiders ransacking medical cabinets, destroying what they couldn't carry. On 3, Jason whispered. He held up 3 fingers, counting down silently. They dropped through the grate simultaneously. Jason's stolen energy blade found the first raider's neck joint. Lena's shot took the second in the knee, and Jason finished him with a precise strike to the helmet. Clear, Jason said, already moving to secure the door. Grab everything you can carry. Antibiotics, painkillers, surgical supplies. As they worked, Lena watched Jason with concern. You're different now. Harder. No, Jason replied, stuffing medical supplies into bags. I'm exactly the same. A doctor doing whatever it takes to save lives. An alarm sounded. Jason checked his scanner. They found the bodies. We've got company coming. They rushed back to the tunnels, arms full of supplies. Lisa and Zeleth were waiting, eyes wide with fear. Move, Jason ordered. Back to pediatrics. Now. As they ran, Jason explained his plan. These tunnels connect the whole station. We'll use them to move patients, set ambushes, and wear the raiders down. Like guerrilla warfare, Lena said. Exactly. They expect us to cower and die. We'll show them what humans do instead. They emerged in a storage room near pediatrics. Jason distributed the supplies, then turned to his team. Zeleth, you're the fastest. Scout the next section. Lisa, prepare injection packs with sedatives. We'll use them as weapons. This is insane, Lisa muttered, but she obeyed. Over the next hours, Jason led a campaign of resistance that left the raiders confused and frightened. He used his medical knowledge to target weak points in their armor. He turned healing tools into weapons. He set traps using oxygen tanks and surgical lasers. The raiders, used to easy victories against peaceful species, found themselves hunted by an enemy they couldn't understand. Their communications filled with panicked reports of a demon doctor who appeared from nowhere, struck with precision, and vanished. In the pediatric ward, the alien staff monitored Jason's progress through security cameras. They watched him save a group of trapped nurses, then eliminate their captors with clinical efficiency. He's like 2 different beings, Dr. Tavara observed. One moment he's gently treating a wounded child. The next he's this. Commander Zixalar studied the human with new understanding. No, he's always the same being. That's what we failed to see. Humans don't separate their roles like we do. Their healers are warriors. Their warriors are protectors. Their protectors are healers. On the screens, they watched Jason tend to a wounded raider he'd just defeated, applying bandages with the same care he showed his patients. Then he sedated the alien and moved on to his next target. We thought their violence was primitive, Tavara said softly. But it's not violence at all. It's protection, care, love, expressed through necessary force. The tide was turning. The raiders were learning to fear the human medic who fought like a soldier and healed like a saint. The captured raider sat in the makeshift medical bay, his armor removed, wounds bandaged. Jason worked on him with the same careful attention he gave all patients. The alien staff watched this display with confusion and wonder. Why heal him? Dr. Tavara asked. He tried to kill us all. Jason didn't look up from his work. Because I'm a doctor, and right now he's a patient. The raider, consciousness returning, stared at Jason in disbelief. You're the demon doctor, the one who's been hunting us. I'm Dr. Jason Parker, Jason corrected calmly. And I'm trying to save your arm. Hold still. Lena entered with more medical supplies. Jason, we found another group of survivors in the East Wing, mostly children from the long-term care unit. Can we move them here? The raiders have that corridor locked down tight. Jason finished bandaging the raider and stood. Then we'll have to open it up. He turned to Tavara. Watch this patient. If he tries anything, sedate him. You're leaving him alive? The raider asked, bewildered. I'm a medic, not an executioner, Jason replied. Though I will defend my patients. As Jason prepared to leave, Commander Zixlar approached. Dr. Parker, I must understand. Your people, how do you reconcile these two natures, the healer and the warrior? Jason paused, considering his words. Commander, on Earth we have a saying, the same hand that can save a life can take one. It's not about having two natures, it's about understanding that sometimes healing requires fighting. But the violence is a tool like a scalpel, used precisely with purpose to remove what threatens life. In the tunnels again, Jason taught his growing group of followers. Lisa had overcome her initial horror and now moved with purpose. Zelith had proven surprisingly adept at reconnaissance. Even some of the security staff, inspired by Jason's example, had joined the resistance. Remember, Jason instructed, we're not here to kill. We're here to protect, disable when possible, eliminate only when necessary. They reached the east wing through a maintenance shaft. Below, they could hear children crying and raiders shouting. Jason's jaw tightened. Lisa, Zelith, you're on patient evacuation. Lena and I will handle the raiders. The attack was swift and precise. Jason used flashbangs made from medical imaging equipment to disorient the raiders. While they stumbled, blind, he and Lena struck with surgical precision. No wasted movements, no excessive force, just enough to neutralize the threat. Within minutes, the corridor was secure. The children, many of them different species Jason had never seen, looked at him with wide eyes. It's okay, he said softly, his voice completely different from moments ago. I'm a doctor, we're going to get you somewhere safe. One small child covered in blue fur reached for Jason's blood-stained hand. Are you the guardian angel the adults talk about? Jason smiled. No, I'm just a medic doing my job. As they evacuated the children, Jason noticed something changing in the alien staff. They moved with more confidence following his examples. Some even picked up makeshift weapons to defend their patients. Back in the pediatric ward, Dr. Tavara was examining the captured raider. She turned to Jason with newfound respect. He told me something interesting. The raiders are starting to withdraw. They're afraid. Of what? Lena asked. Of the human who fights like a warrior but heals like a god, Tavara replied. They don't understand how one being can be both. It terrifies them. Jason cleaned his hands, washing away alien blood. Good. Fear might make them think twice about attacking medical facilities. Dr. Parker, Zelith said hesitantly, could you teach us? This way of being both healer and protector? Jason looked around at the alien faces, all waiting for his answer. I can try, but understand it's not about learning to fight. It's about learning why we fight. To protect, to heal, to preserve life, even if that means taking life. The aliens nodded slowly, beginning to grasp the profound truth about humanity's dual nature. The Krathak commander stood in the center of the main medical bay, his crimson armor gleaming under the emergency lights. Around him, his remaining raiders held weapons on the assembled staff and patients. Jason watched from the shadows of a maintenance tunnel, planning his next move. Bring me the human medic, the commander's voice boomed. The one they call the demon doctor, Dr. Tavara stepped forward bravely. He's not here. You've driven him away with your violence. The commander grabbed her by the throat. Lies! My soldiers speak of him like he's a ghost, a healer who kills, a killer who heals. Bring him to me, or I start executing patients. Jason's grip tightened on his weapon. Beside him, Lena whispered, we can't let him hurt them. I know, Jason replied. He handed her his medical bag. When I move, get ready to treat casualties. Jason, no, it's suicide. It's medicine, he corrected. Sometimes you have to cut out the cancer to save the body. Jason stepped into the medical bay, hands raised. I'm here, let them go. The commander turned, his helmet's red lenses focusing on Jason. "So, the famous human medic, you've cost me many soldiers. And you've cost us many patients," Jason replied, calmly. "This is a place of healing. You've turned it into a battlefield. Everything is a battlefield, human. The strong survive. The weak perish." Jason shook his head. "That's where you're wrong. The strong protect the weak. That's what makes us human," the commander laughed. "Pretty words from a killer. My soldiers say you fight like a demon. I fight like a doctor," Jason corrected, "with precision, purpose, and only when necessary. Let's test that." The commander raised his weapon toward a group of children. Jason moved faster than thought. The plasma scalpel he'd concealed in his sleeve flashed out, severing the commander's weapon in half. In the same motion, Jason rolled forward, coming up inside the commander's guard. The fight was brutal and swift. Jason used every trick he knew, targeting nerve clusters and joint weaknesses in the commander's armor. The commander was stronger, but Jason was smarter, using his medical knowledge like a weapon. Around them, the other raiders hesitated, unsure whether to fire and risk hitting their commander. The alien medical staff watched in awe as their gentle human doctor fought with deadly grace. Jason took several hits, feeling ribs crack, tasting blood, but he didn't stop. He couldn't stop, not with lives depending on him. The commander threw Jason across the room. "You fight well for a healer." Jason stood, wiping blood from his mouth. "And you die poorly for a warrior." He charged forward, sliding between the commander's legs, and drove a surgical probe into a gap in the armor. The commander roared in pain as Jason hit a major nerve cluster. "Yield," Jason said, holding another probe to the commander's neck joint. "Order your forces to withdraw." "Never. The Krithak do not surrender to—" Jason pressed the probe slightly, drawing a drop of green blood. "I'm not asking as a warrior. I'm telling you as a doctor, yield or die." The commander looked into Jason's eyes and saw something that terrified him. Not rage, not bloodlust, but calm determination. The eyes of a healer who would kill to protect life. "Withdraw," the commander gasped into his communicator. "All forces, withdraw." As the raiders retreated, Jason immediately began treating the wounded, starting with the commander himself. The alien staff rushed to help, no longer seeing any contradiction in his actions. "You spared him," Tavara said, amazed. "He's a patient now," Jason replied simply. Lena knelt beside him, helping to bandage his wounds. "You know they'll spread stories about this, about the human medic who defeated their commander." Jason nodded tiredly. "Good. Maybe they'll think twice before attacking another medical station." The medical bay slowly returned to its true purpose, healing. But now everyone understood that sometimes protecting the ability to heal required the willingness to harm. 2 days after the attack, Medical Station Horizon 7 was almost back to normal. The Galactic Coalition fleet had arrived to find Jason calmly performing surgery on a patient, his scrubs clean and white, as if nothing had happened. Admiral Kextar, a towering reptilian officer, surveyed the damage with disbelief. "The report said the Krithak Empire attacked in force. How did you survive with so few casualties?" Commander Zixlar gestured toward Jason. "We had help. Our human medic proved to be more than we expected." The Admiral watched Jason work. "This is the one who defeated Commander Draxel in single combat. He looks so ordinary." "That's what makes humans extraordinary," Dr. Tavara said. She had changed since the attack, now carrying herself with new confidence. "They can be ordinary one moment and extraordinary the next." In the medical bay, Jason finished his surgery and checked on other patients. The captured raiders, now recovering, watched him with a mixture of fear and respect. Even Commander Draxel, his armor removed and wounds healing, couldn't hide his fascination. "I don't understand you, human," Draxel said when Jason checked his bandages. "You fight like a warrior but heal your enemies. It makes no sense." Jason smiled. "On Earth, we have a concept called warrior monk. Someone who masters both the arts of war and peace, but I'm not that. I'm just a doctor who does what's necessary. Lena approached with a datapad. Jason, the Coalition wants to give you a medal for valor in combat. Jason shook his head. I don't want medals. I want better security for medical stations. Admiral Kextar overheard and stepped forward. Dr. Parker, your actions have changed everything. The Coalition is implementing new protocols. All medical stations will now have human combat medics on staff. Combat medics? Jason frowned. That's not... It's exactly what we need, Tavara interrupted. Healers who can protect. You've shown us a new way. Over the next week, Jason trained the alien staff in basic defense techniques, not to make them warriors, but to help them protect their patients. He taught them that violence should always be the last resort, but when necessary, it should be applied with precision and purpose. The story of the human medic spread across the galaxy. Other species began to understand that human compassion wasn't weakness but strength, that humans could hold life sacred while still being willing to fight for it. On his last day at the station, Jason packed his bags. He was being transferred to train others, to spread his knowledge across Coalition space. You've changed us, Zelith said, her lavender skin shimmering with emotion. We thought healing and fighting were opposites. You showed us they're the same thing, seen from different angles. Lisa, no longer the frightened young doctor, stood tall beside him. I'm staying here, she announced. Someone needs to continue what you started. Commander Zixlar presented Jason with a gift, a ceremonial blade from his homeworld. For the warrior healer, he said. May you never need it, but always have it. As Jason boarded the transport ship, he looked back at the station. The wall still showed scorch marks from the battle, but inside life continued. Patients were healing, children were laughing, and the staff moved with new purpose. Sir? The pilot asked. Where to? The next place that needs a medic, Jason replied. The ship departed carrying the human who had become a legend, not as a warrior or a healer, but as both. The story of the medic covered in enemy blood would be told across the galaxy, inspiring a new generation of protector healers, and somewhere in the vast expanse of space other hostile forces heard the tale and learned to fear the humans. Not for their weapons or their strength, but for their ability to be gentle healers one moment and fierce protectors the next. The galaxy would never look at human medics the same way again. They weren't just healers. They were guardians, protectors, and when necessary, warriors, all wrapped in a white coat and carrying a medical bag.